Hey Internet, this is Jim and Eldar,
Hi.
and we're Mathematical Tax Consultants. We advise on international business owners and businesses who are trying to come to the U.S. and do business here, and we help you get set up and save money. And today, the title of the video and what we're going to be talking about is how much does it cost to set up a U.S. business. That's like the title of the video. We're going to just talk a little bit about the costs and how it's done.
Yeah, it's one of the questions that we get asked most often, and I realized because different countries have different requirements when it comes to starting a business. I know, for example, in Spain, just to start a business, you need about around 5,000 euros to start a business. This is not the same case in the United States, and we'll talk about it in this video.
Yeah, so Elder has a couple of talking points, but the main idea is that it's not that expensive. I'm going to get to the ending quickly. To get started, it's not that expensive, but what we do is make sure that you're doing it the right way, because in the U.S. there's a lot of ways to do things, and there's a lot of rules around how things are done, but the actual administrative cost isn't that bad. So what's your first talking point?
How to incorporate a business in the United States.
So where are businesses incorporated, Eldar? How do you open a business up? Is it with the states?
Pretty much you have to decide on which state you want to open your business, and depending on what type of industry you're in, some states are going to be better than others. For international clients, we usually use Delaware because it's got a lot of advantages for their type of industries, but pretty much you open it through the state.
So Delaware has a lot of corporate case law precedent for bigger companies, and it's often that companies that are doing business here, like with physical presence here, are setting up corporations, and it's just a good, especially for non-resident corporations, it's a good state to get set up in. But then, we're talking actual administrative costs other than like to set it up and register with the state, less than $1,000. But I mean that's just setting it up, but then there's obviously
every year you have to renew your company. Basically, you pay a fee with the state in which your company is was incorporated, and you have to pay franchise taxes in Delaware. You have to pay franchise taxes in many states, and that's one of the things that you might want to look at once you set up a corporation. For example, a lot of people set up corporations with million shares, and then it becomes a little bit complicated when you're filing your franchise, when you're paying your renewal for the company, you're paying your franchise taxes, and you find yourself paying $70,000 because you have a million shares outside.
For no reason. Yeah. So that's just a small thing that a small reason to pay for advice. I guess it could be a $70,000 reason to get some tax advice, just because there's 50 states in our beautiful country, and then we got Puerto Rico, and these every state has its own rules. It's its own little mini state government that has its own rules on setting up the business, and all the businesses have to be organized in a state, and it's not a federal thing.
Exactly.
How an entity that you set up is taxed by the federal government is something that you can have some flexibility to decide as well, depending on what you set up, because the state imposes taxes and the IRS, the federal government, imposes taxes. So it's tricky. There's a lot of moving parts. So I guess to summarize that,
it's not hard. It's not expensive to start a business here, but depending on how you organize it, it could be expensive to maintain a business in the U.S. There are other requirements depending on what it is that you do, what it is that your goals are for the business. For example, if you are trying to move to the States and actually have a visa, then you do have some requirements, although they're not written down for different type of investor visas. You do have to put some capital, and the capital has to be, they have to see where you're allocating the capital. But just to start a business, a lot of our clients, what they do right now is e-commerce, a lot of software companies that get paid in US dollars, and they lose money when there is an exchange rate from the country that the actual company is situated, it's established. So a lot of them, what they do is they open a company here where they could charge the clients that are not within their own countries, and that works out for them because you avoid that fluctuation in exchange rate, and it also saves you in fees that you pay your merchant accounts over in your country. So it's becoming, the United States has become more and more sort of a tax haven, but you still have that security of being, you know, in a share market where you're not going to lose the capital if you keep it at a bank.
Yes, and that's a good point. Although we're getting a lot of people doing e-commerce and coming here to set up LLCs, and mostly LLCs, and there are a lot of little tricky rules here and there. The cost is low to set it up, but the doing everything right and opening a bank account and then the annual compliance can be a huge time suck and a huge headache if you don't know what you're doing, and there could be big penalties if you do it wrong as well. So I guess the theme is it's not hard to get set up, but there's a lot of ways to make mistakes and get burned in the back end. So
yeah, and another thing that I wanted to mention is that when it comes to federal, they may take longer. Like, you may take longer to get burned, but states are they're very on top of everything. So in my experience, states are more rigorous than federal. So if you don't file, you know, the renewal for the company, then you get penalties. If you don't pay state taxes, they will be right up in there.
Yeah, Florida just raised it this year. Florida's the worst. We're out in Miami, and they just changed it last year. And if you didn't renew your LLC by May 30th, I believe is the date, and it's a $125 renewal fee. They slapped $400 penalty on.
Yeah.
So, you know,
that's not even the worst. The state of Florida would just put a lien on you if you don't pay the state tax, or you don't file the state return. A lot of people, many people think because we don't have state taxes in Florida, you don't have to file a state return. That's not the case. So to go back to how much does it cost to own a business here in the United States, it's very inexpensive to open a business. You could open a business with paying $150 on the state website, and then getting your tax ID. Now, to get your tax ID is a little bit more complicated.
As a non-resident.
As a non-resident.
I have another. We have another video we put up on exactly how to do it and fill out the form. So check out our other videos and subscribe.
Or how to fill out the SS4. It's very inexpensive. You don't have that requirement that you have to put out $5,000 or 5,000 euros to open a company. You can literally open a company with $150. You go to the state website, open up a company, come up with a name that they haven't used yet. And that's pretty much it.
You need a U.S. address. You might have to pay a registered agent, but.
But then if you want to really have a business, you have to understand that you need to have bylaws, articles of organization. You have to have the actual foundations of your business. Member agreements. So the actual foundations of your business. So when your business actually grows, this doesn't come back and haunt you, which has happened to many of our clients in the past that have not really paid attention to how to properly incorporate a business here. Yes, $150, go to the state, do it. But if your business grows and you have partners and you want to issue stocks, it gets really messy real quick.
Yeah, so I guess that answers the question. This is a pretty easy question. It's not that expensive, but it could cost you if you do it wrong. So let us know, post if you have any questions that you want us to make videos about. We're going to try and be a little more active. So post if you want us to talk about anything differently, if you have international questions, and we'll just keep trying to add content and be out there helping you guys
it's just been a busy past
be successful in the U.S. doing business here. So
exactly.
So yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you. Good.